To maybe the surprise of no one, but still shocking when you actually look at the numbers, AI search is growing insanely fast. Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief Headlines Edition, all the daily AI news you need in around 5 minutes. Today we kick off with the not all that surprising news that AI search is growing incredibly fast. According to market intelligence firm Datos, 5.6% of US search traffic flowed through AI search providers last month. Now that is of course still a small proportion compared to traditional search, but market share has doubled compared to a year ago, and the numbers are even starker when you just look at early adopters. Datos began tracking a separate cohort of people who were using LLMs in their desktop browsers in April of last year. Visits to LLMs are now 40% of that cohort's browser usage, up from around 24% a year ago. And these figures also don't take into consideration searches that are satisfied with Google's AI overviews, as those go through the normal search front end. The very clear point is that while we're not there yet, the growth trajectory absolutely suggests that LLMs will become the dominant form of search within a few years' time. Eli Goodman, the CEO of Datos, believes this is a sea change for the web comparable to Google's launch and the emergence of the first social media platforms. It's not just, in other words, that people are switching to a different search engine. It's that they're rethinking in a fundamental way how they engage with the internet. Goodman said, over 90% of all the AI searches are what we call informational or productivity-based. Help me solve this problem, help me answer this question. In contrast, the majority of traditional searches are about finding a particular destination on the web. Now, one of the groups that this has big implications for are, of course, the marketers. There is a ton of discussion in the SEO world about how to switch over to generative engine optimization, but there's clearly a sea change afoot. Some optimistically think that AI search will be additive rather than replacing traditional search. Andrew Lipsman, the founder of consulting firm Media, Ads, and Commerce, thinks that this will be close to the mobile boom. Many feared consumers would ditch the desktop and go mobile only. Instead, what happened was that desktop internet traffic stayed relatively flat while mobile traffic surged. So is it possible that that's what will happen with AI search, where because it serves a different purpose than traditional search, especially through the use of tools like deep research, it won't be a one-to-one replacement, it'll just create a new pillar of how we interact. Obviously, one of the biggest sources of those new searches is ChatGPT, where users now send over 2.5 billion prompts every single day. That's coming up on 1 trillion requests every year. OpenAI shared these figures with Axios, and while Google doesn't share their stats on a daily level, they did recently reveal that they're currently receiving around 5 trillion queries a year, which puts OpenAI at creeping up on 1/5 of Google searches. What's more, it appears that usage is growing at a very significant pace, given that in December, Sam Altman said that users send over 1 billion queries a day. I'm no mathematician, but going from 1 to 2.5 billion means that usage has more than doubled in the last 7 months. The numbers were reported as part of Altman's trip to Washington this week. He's scheduled to speak at a Federal Reserve event on Tuesday to discuss how AI is impacting jobs, where sources close to Altman said that his view is, quote, not all doomerism downside and not hand-waving away concerns, but focused on democratizing benefits, not concentrating them in the hands of a few. Today, on Wednesday, at the time of recording, Altman will be present at the White House for a keynote from the president at the AI Race Summit. Coinciding with that is the AI Action Plan, which will be the subject of today's main episode. A source told Axios, over the course of the week, OpenAI will make the case that democratizing the economic benefits begins with putting these tools in the hands of people to do stuff so they have an opportunity to participate in the prosperity. Next up in the headlines, an update on the talent wars. Earlier this week, of course, we discussed OpenAI and Google putting up gold medal performances in the International Math Olympiad. And brutally, it turns out that 3 Google researchers who designed the model were being poached by Meta. The information reports that the trio worked on a version of Google's Gemini model that leveraged advancements in reasoning to bring home the gold. They reported the moves as Meta's latest hires, so it's entirely possible, given how that man operates, that Zuck could have been making calls as soon as the news broke. Separately, CNBC reports that Microsoft is raiding Google DeepMind as well. Sources said that Microsoft had hired around 24 researchers from DeepMind over recent months. On Tuesday, a 16-year Google vet, Amar Subramanya, who was most recently VP of Engineering for Gemini, announced on LinkedIn that he had joined Microsoft as a corporate VP. The reporting suggests that Microsoft AI CEO Mustafa Suleyman, who was of course himself a co-founder of DeepMind, is more aggressively staffing up his AI division to get back in the race. One more big company update, Amazon has acquired an AI wearable startup called Bee. The product is a watch that listens to your conversations and can generate summaries or transcripts, similar to a number of the different AI pins and pendants. The big selling point is a $50 price tag, which comes in below the competition. The transaction apparently hasn't closed yet, and Amazon didn't disclose the size of the deal, But their spokesperson did mention that Bee employees have received offers to join Amazon as part of the deal. And indeed, that could be the rationale here, that this is a hiring play rather than Amazon wanting to launch a budget AI wearable. As you well know, Amazon has been struggling to get Alexa up to any sort of impressive or even frankly usable standard, so it doesn't seem like bringing in additional talent with experience in ambient AI is the worst idea. Now, later today, in the main episode, we're going to talk a lot about AI and geopolitics. And one interesting sub-story in all that from earlier this week is a leaked memo from Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei, where Dario is basically shifting Anthropic's policy and bracing his company to start taking investment from organizations in the Gulf states. Wired received a Slack message sent to Anthropic staff on Sunday, in which Amodei weighs up the pros and cons of accepting money from the Middle East. He wrote, among other things, that it would likely enrich quote-unquote dictators, which he said was a, quote, real downside, and I'm not thrilled about it. However, he concluded that Anthropic would take the money, saying, unfortunately, I think no bad person should ever benefit from our success is a pretty difficult principle to run a business on. This was a multi-page memo that sort of seemed to read like a post on Less Wrong, carefully weighing up the pros and cons across any number of different variables, but ultimately it just came down to the resource needs for the next leg of the AI race. Amodei wrote, there is a truly giant amount of capital in the Middle East, easily $100 billion or more. If we want to stay on the frontier, we gain a very large benefit from having access to this capital. Without it, it's substantially harder to stay on the frontier. In a section titled Erosion of Standards, Amodei said that the reason that they had previously, quote, vociferously pushed for not allowing big data centers in the Middle East was because, quote, without a central authority blocking them, there's a race to the bottom where companies gain a lot of advantage by getting deeper and deeper in bed with the Middle East. Dario seemed to have a deep reluctance, but also realized the company's principles were holding it back, commenting, unfortunately, having failed to prevent that dynamic at a collective level, we're now stuck with it as an individual company, and the median position across the other companies appears to be outsourcing our largest 5-gigawatt training runs to UAE and Saudi is fine. That puts us at a significant disadvantage, and we need to look for ways to make up some of that disadvantage while remaining less objectionable. I really wish we weren't in this position, but we are. In a section titled Comms Headache, which is exactly what this whole leaked memo is giving Anthropic's comms teams, Amodei argued that the media, Twitter, and the outside world is, quote, always looking for hypocrisy, while also being very stupid and therefore having a poor understanding of substantive issues. I have a lot of thoughts about this. I think that there are many reasonable positions to have when it comes to this particular question. I think that anyone who says that dealing with certain regimes in the Gulf states is completely obviously morally clear probably hasn't been paying a ton of attention. At the same time, I think it's a lot more complex than lumping them all together, painting everything with a broad brush, and calling everyone who doesn't get it stupid. The Gulf has a very particular and interesting geostrategic role in the world that we're headed into. It sits both metaphorically and literally in between the US and China. The implications for where it decides to put its emphasis and capital go way beyond just the AI race and will shape the next couple of decades in many more ways. It's deserving of an entire show, which maybe I will do at some point, but for now, you gotta think that this whole discourse is gonna make it harder, not easier, for Anthropic to operate in this very important part of the world. Certainly the White House was plenty happy to jump on it, with AI czar David Sachs writing, Anthropic criticized President Trump's AI investment deals with the Middle East, but now it seeks investment from those very same countries. Perhaps it now realizes the absurdity of refusing to do business with the Gulf states. All we will do is push them into the arms of China. Now, with that interesting ending point, let's dive into what is a very interesting and packed main episode.